Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. My name is Brian. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to take a look at the Schrade SCHF39 Slingshot knife. I got to tell you, I'm just enough of a kid to think this is cool. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to try to see how practical it might be in a survival situation. And I have a story I want to tell you about slingshots maybe in a minute. I got to think that one through. But let's take a look at the specs of this knife kit, I guess you could call it. And then we'll get to doing some of that slingshot knife stuff. Okay, once again, this is the Schrade Guidemaster Full Tang Slingshot knife. This knife features a 5.23 inch blade of black titanium coated HCR13 MOV steel and a drop point design. Has a finger choil. Has a 5.24 inch handle with TPE handle slabs. The slingshot knife comes with a nylon filled glass fiber sheath with a built-in 120 grit and 600 grit sharpening stones, a ferro rod, a storage compartment, an ammo magazine which will hold 6 12mm ball bearing shots, and a slingshot feature. The overall length of this knife is 10.47 inches and the weight is about a half a pound. Okay, so Chris with Prepare Mine has reviewed this already a while back, and honestly, I don't think he cared too much for the slingshot feature. I think he thought it was kind of cheesy. We'll see. Again, like I said, I'm enough of a kid to think it's pretty cool, but he did like the knife, and I have to say, man, I like the knife too. It's again HCR13 MOV, which is good steel. It's man, it's just nice, clean design. I like the fact it doesn't have any jimping on the blade. It's got enough of a choil here to really help you get choked up. Don't really, you know. Again, I'm kind of ambivalent about choils. I think if you didn't have a choil, you really wouldn't need to get choked up because you'd have an edge down to here. But I'm not a super big fan of jimping either, and this is reasonably aggressive, honestly. But well, I give it like the squeeze test, and I can honestly feel a little bit of tension here. But this is Chris's test, by the way. You can see marks on my hand though from the jimping, so not a big fan of jimping. But the knife itself, the blade itself, just let me show you. I've not tried this yet. We'll just see how well it does on the old paper cutting test. Okay, pretty decent. Schrade did a good job on the edge on this one. Again, it's a little bit of a hollow grind, very, very pointy. Just a pretty nice overall knife. It appears to be very well balanced. Let's find out. Okay, so it's pretty well balanced, but I think what most people really want to know is how well does the slingshot work. I know that's what I want to know. Before we do that, I want to talk about a couple things real quick. You can see that has the got a sharpening stone here, and here we got a 600 and a 120 grit. It's got the little ferro rod out here, so let's just take a look at this and see how well this spine works. I don't know if it does or not. Okay, it works, and it's got a nice little holder that fits right in here. Snaps in pretty well, so we'll go ahead and put the knife back in the old sheath here so we don't cut ourselves. Nice little Velcro attachments here, which is good. Okay, so slingshot. They actually redid these. They had a design change on them. They used to slide over. Now they actually go on, they just made a loop to go on them. So the way this works is you extend the slingshot arms up, and then you got little locks right here. You lock them out, okay? And then what they say to do is to pull it, you hold your finger grip here on this handle, and then you pull this way, okay? The only flaw I see with that is if you hold your handle backwards like this, let me show you. You can pull these things off. I did it a minute ago, and it hurts your finger. So that is a little bit of a challenge, I think, there. You know, and if you push them down too low, then obviously whatever your projectile is going to hit this. So you want to make sure you got enough room for your projectile. But I would say you probably need to angle out that way a little bit, which is what you're going to want to do for leverage anyway. So if you pull it out that way, they're not coming off. I would check them every time. This thing comes with these big old ball bearings here, but instead of using those right now, we're going to use some small 1/4-inch daisy ones I bought. I can tell you at Boy Scout camp, what they use for slingshot practice is dog food, which makes a really good sense because it deteriorates, it's biodegradable, and you know, feeds the critters at the same time when raccoons or whatever come up. The only thing about it is it's really irregular in shape, so it may not fly really true. Of course, if you pick up a rock, it's the same thing can be said. So let's go ahead and see. I've got a couple of cans set up down here, and we're going to see if we can hit one of them. So I've got here some good old daisy. Oh, spilling them all over the yard. 1/4-inch, slightly bigger than a BB. We'll try those first because they's a lot cheaper. Oh, that was so close. Close, close, close. Okay, so maybe 10, 12 shots, 2 hits. I can tell you though, you need to pay attention. Just gotta call them like I see them. Last time I shot this thing, the locks, I guess, had come undone, and this thing slung forward and hit me on my finger, and I think I got a little bruise there. It hurts. So I guess they just worked themselves loose from vibration. They've got some screws here that you could probably tighten up. You can see the bands did not, so, but I was trying to be careful to keep it slanted this way. So let's get back over to the old sit and stump, and we'll talk about this thing real quick. Okay, so as you can see, here's one of the cans that was hit, and you can also see it is definitely not perforated. And I was probably at the most 20 feet away, so don't know how well this will be on an animal. Okay, so real quickly, I'm trying to keep these videos short, but I do have a story about slingshots. By the way, if you're a PETA fan, you might want to click off now because you're not going to like the story. But let's just say there's a guy I know, and he was with some other guys, and they decided they were going to see if they could get them a squirrel with a slingshot. So they went, you know, stalking through the woods, and sure enough, they saw this squirrel. And it was probably 30 feet away, just fat and sassy, sitting on a limb, maybe 20 feet off the ground. And this guy I know reared back with his slingshot. It was a wrist rocket slingshot, and let one fly. And this guy was using this guy was using 3/8-inch steel balls, the larger size, and he missed. So this guy reloaded, pulled back, let another one fly just as absolutely hard as he possibly could, and whack, nailed this little squirrel. It was actually a big squirrel, smack in the side. You could hear it thump, and sure enough, the squirrel just started cussing in squirrel talk and ran up the tree, cussing the whole time. So this guy I know reared back another one. The squirrel's looking at him. He whacked it again, right in the side again, and the squirrel just kept on cussing and kept on running, and as far as I know, is still cussing and running today. The point being that this guy was unable to, with 2 solid hit body shots to a squirrel, was unable to wind up with a squirrel in his cook pot. So I guess the moral of that story is, if you are planning on using a slingshot to get food and to hunt with, then at least with the ball bearing part of it, you might do better with a bow slingshot thing, but we'll talk about, you know, that's another video. But you need to really practice and get really good, and go for headshots. There's no doubt that I think if this guy had hit the squirrel in the head, it would have probably been dispatchable, if nothing else. If it didn't kill it outright, he would have been able to kill it. But anyway, so that's just a moral of that story. You know, before you just assume that something's going to work for you, I would definitely get out and practice and really try. I think if you can hit a headshot, if you get to where you can hit a quarter at 30, 40 feet, you might have a good shot at actually using this thing for some food. Otherwise, it's going to be just absolutely luck, in my opinion. So I'll stop rambling now. Let's wrap this thing up. First of all, I don't think I mentioned this. Thanks to the folks at Schrade for sending me this so I can show it to you. Okay, let's wrap this up. Final thoughts. Again, the knife itself, I like the blade shape. I like the pointiness of it. I like the feel of it, the balance of it. I could do without the jimping. I think it's a little aggressive, and I could just do without it. The choil works fine. I don't know if you really need a choil. If the blade were sharpened down to here, you probably wouldn't. But you know, that's kind of a personal preference thing. It doesn't bother me. I like it okay. I like the tackiness of this TPE handle. Also, you know, and the balance, I like the balance, obviously. So, the sheath. I kind of like the sheath. The fact that you've got the sharpening stones on either side, which could come in handy in the field. I like the ferro rod, which works really well with the spine of the knife. And, you know, I got to tell you, I like the slingshot. I just, I don't know how actually, you know, effective and practical it is for anything other than just having fun. But hey, there's nothing wrong with having fun, right? I promise you, if nothing else, just a good night to take camping with you and just have a great time playing with a slingshot out in the woods. Just watch yourself. Make sure the lock needs to be, in my opinion, they need to have some way to maybe put a little more tension or somehow keep that thing from unlocking itself, because it did it on me. And so you got to really pay attention to that and watch these things, make sure they don't slide off. Other than that, it's a really cool little knife, little kit. It's a lot of fun, and I like it. What can I say? So I hope this has been helpful. As always, thanks for watching Survival on Purpose. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for clicking that thumbs up, for sharing it with your friends, for watching those ads, and thank you so much for doing all your shopping on Amazon through my links. You know, I get a little bit of cash when you do that, and it really helps the channel, and I really, really appreciate it. Once again, my name is Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. See you next time. Okay, man, this is going to be an editing nightmare. Before we do that, by the way, if you belong to PETA, you're not going to be happy.